Hi, welcome to Geek Talk. My name is Jonathan Chestnut, and I am here with the Flash,
Joshua Soltren.
Soltren. All right. Today we're going to be talking about Endgame. That's one of the big things that's coming up.
Yeah.
And Miss Marvel. So I guess we'll talk about Miss Marvel first because that was kind of before.
Yeah. So Captain Marvel was good. Wasn't the best Marvel movie, but it was a decent origin story for her character. I know a lot of things were different from the comics. I haven't read her comics personally, but I know they did change some things with Marvel. Of course, he was a guy in the movie and in the comics, and he was a female in the movie. And I know there were other different changes from the comics, which he could probably talk about. But
I probably could. Yeah, actually, no, there was tons of changes. I mean, the character isn't even close to what it used to be. I had a sort of a different take on the Miss Marvel movie. I don't know what I expected. I wasn't thrilled, but I didn't hate it. It wasn't the best Marvel movie.
mm-hmm.
It was definitely not the worst because so long as Thor 2 is around, we got a bottom line there. But no, I mean, I guess my problem is it sort of paralleled the Wonder Woman movie. You know, Bing gets power, doesn't really know how powerful they are, and they have these sort of lofty expectations in the universe, and then suddenly they have godlike powers towards the end, and it's this like over blossoming thing, and it's like everybody sells her short or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought there was some parallels there, but I really liked the actress that played her. I thought that was really good, and there was a lot more. Marvel has sort of mastered just the right amount of humor with the cat and all that and all those things.
I actually enjoyed, my favorite part of the movie wasn't even her or just the story. I enjoyed the Skrulls the most, especially the guy who played the leader of the Skrulls. He did a phenomenal job. And I loved how, everyone should have seen it already, but how in the twist, how he was actually the good guy, and it wasn't even that he was doing bad things just for doing bad things. He was trying to save his people.
Which is a variation from the comic books. The Skrulls are bad guys in the comics. And it was kind of cute because they had the really big Skrulls that were human size, and they were the leader guys. But then the original Skrulls were tiny, or not tiny, but they were smaller. And that question, can you turn into inanimate objects, or why could you turn into a table? He's like, why would I do that? In the comics, they can turn into anything they've seen.
Yeah.
Until the locking, there was some sort of mechanism the Kree used, sent out this cosmic wave, and it trapped them in whatever form they were in at that moment. And so most of the Skrulls that were off of their homeworld in hiding were trapped in other forms. And so they had one Skrull that was like trapped as a lamp.
Oh, man.
And there's no going back.
That's not good.
But the Kree were always bad guys too. Captain Marvel, which was Marvel's version of Captain Marvel, it was a guy, and then the new one was human that was exposed to Kree energies and all that. But so I mean, it kind of parallels. But like originally, she couldn't shoot energy. She couldn't do any of that stuff. The one thing most people don't really get is that like Rogue in the X-Men, she can fly. She's super strong. She's invulnerable, and she can absorb other people's powers. Well, she took Miss Marvel's powers, and she held on to her too long, and that's why she can fly and is invulnerable and all of that. And then Miss Marvel, they kept trying to reinvent her as different characters. When she was Miss Marvel, she became binary, and she became a couple others. And the new Miss Marvel, the one we see in the comics and really close to what you see in the movie, it's a combination sort of all those incarnations. So she can do a lot of stuff that Captain Marvel couldn't do, and it's like almost the power of a sun. When she was binary, I mean, she had like the sunlight powers. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But
that also brings us to Shazam. Totally forgot that came out. I saw it. What did you think of it?
I loved it, and so I'm going to go into spoilers because the one thing that with it, that if you watch the previews, there's this instance where he holds out the hammer and he's like, all of you grab the hammer and say my name, and they all say Billy, and he's like, no, the name I say to become this guy.
Yeah.
It was very Power Ranger-y for me. It was kind of like suddenly there were all these different colors of Captain Marvel. Sorry, Shazam was originally called Captain Marvel. He was produced by Fawcett Comics. And then there was a whole lawsuit thing with Superman. And then it turns out that they hadn't ever copyrighted the name. So Marvel created Captain Marvel, which was Marvel, which has now become Carol Danvers, which is Captain Marvel. DC gave up the fight and just went, well, we're going to call him Shazam, which is kind of dumb because it's like, hi, I'm Superman, I'm Shazam. Suddenly you're a little boy.
Exactly.
You know, he should give up with a different name, Captain Amazing, I don't know, something.
I enjoyed the movie though. My only issue with it was the suits. I didn't like how the suits looked. They looked kind of cartoony, not very DC style, where they have more like Superman's suit, for example. Now I understand his suit is pretty much from the gods and all that stuff, but it isn't an actual made suit. But it can actually, I would want it to look more detailish and not just onesie.
Well, but see, that's just, I mean, with him, I think what they were really shooting for was more of a cartoon feel. Whereas like Batman, you can see the armor and all that, and the Superman, you can see that it's made up of the little S's, and Wonder Woman's got that sort of Greek structure. He is sort of the manifestation of the psyche of a child. And so the suit itself should be somewhat simple. I didn't even like the fact that his little thing in the middle glowed. Because originally he didn't shoot lightning. He just was Superman for all intents and purposes. But he was a little kid that would say this magic word and he becomes Superman. And so that's what made him really popular.
Yeah.
You know, but when they brought him back, they're trying to create some separation, so they give him the lightning. And so, you know, I get it, the sort of magic stuff. The tiger issue, like Tawny the Tiger, you don't know if Tawny the Tiger is a character from his world that's this humanoid tiger that's sort of an ally of his. And I didn't realize it. He mentions it he mentions a stuffed animal and gives it to this little girl. But on his cape, where his cape clasp is, there's actually a picture of a tiger. It's engraved with a tiger. And it's supposed to be representative of that. So there's a little details hidden in there, but it was a lot of fun. It was very much like the new 52 Captain Marvel. And I disliked and I liked the Power Ranger thing because I liked the fact that they didn't. There's just so much fun with it. I mean, because now we could have a spin-off Mary Marvel movie or any of the Marvels at this point. They could spin off into their own thing. And I think that might be where they were going with that whole she's getting ready to leave and that kind of thing. Because they've already talked about a Supergirl movie in the next 4 years. If they could do a spin-off and do the Mary Marvel movie, we might see something DC trying to humanize themselves and pull away from the darker story lines, even though they have slated a Justice League Dark to come out in the next 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
But they haven't put the Justice League 2 on the schedule yet.
I think they need to wait a little while till they do that.
I think they need to introduce a few more characters. You know, so that the Justice League, it shouldn't be Superman and the other guys. So, you know, if we have Captain Marvel would play well against like Wonder Woman and Batman and those kinds of characters without overpowering them. Whereas power-wise he really is, but personality-wise he isn't because of his youth. But all right, so we got Endgame. That's the thing we really should be.
The big thing going on. 10 years leading up to this.
10?
Yeah,
It's been like 20 years, isn't it?
Since 2008. The first one, Iron Man, then Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm thinking 20 years. I'm just old. I forget things.
Feels like 20 years.
It feels like it. But it feels like every year or two they come out with a new Marvel movie sort of building up. But this is it. This is the end. This is like, you know, we're losing Game of Thrones and the Marvel universe is sort of tapering to an end to be redone in some way.
Yep, this is the ending of the Infinity Saga. I'm not ready to see what they do.
It's going to be interesting. I know it starts out 5 years ahead, like 5 years since he went.
Well, I think by what the trailers, and this is non-spoilery stuff, this is all
'Cause we've just seen
speculation
trailers, yeah.
from before, that the beginning of the movie takes place like right after the snap when Captain Marvel shows up. And this is all based off of how people have looked at Black Widow's hair, the length it's been growing. Because she has like short blonde hair like she had in Infinity War. Then she has her long red hair again in another part of the movie.
Well, I think you might be wrong there, because I've seen one clip where they said, "Well, what took you so long to get here?" You know, I came as soon as I could, but she was a long ways away.
Yeah. Well, I think what that was War Machine asking her.
Mm-hmm.
It was because I think he was talking about everything else that was going on, like Loki, Ultron, and everything. He's like, "Where were you at?" And then she said, "Not every place has Avengers."
Oh, that's true.
So,
but would that mean that she is aware of them in some way?
possibly, that would be. They might explain that in the movie, because if she knew, then she may have not come here for any reason to Earth. But also, she told Nick Fury, "Don't call me unless it's a dire emergency."
I think Ultron would qualify, or the invasion in New York.
True, but it wasn't. I think Nick Fury knew right when he was going away. He knew, yeah, we need Captain Marvel, because that's when you.
I'm dying, so this is important enough that I call this is cosmic entity.
Yeah.
I might just have like the disintegrating flu. I don't know, but let's call her. I don't know. For me, that's, I could get it. They're going to have to explain that out, and they will, I'm sure. Well, I guess when we start really thinking about it, somebody's going to die. Somebody has to die.
Yes. Someone important, not a side character. Well, some side characters will die, but it has to be the main one, someone from the original 6, I believe. Not someone like War Machine or Nebula, which they may die, but someone from the original 6. Because it has to hit us hard, knowing that one of the ones we've watched from 10 years ago has led to the final sacrifice so everyone can survive.
Okay, so what are your thoughts?
I think it'll be Captain America, because by just his character, he sacrificed everything for Bucky when Bucky was the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
He sided with him when all odds were against him. He was always the first one to sacrifice himself in his movie, The First Avenger, with the grenade when he put the ship down with the Tesseract. That's just what his character is. And like many other people think, this could be his final sacrifice.
Okay, that's possible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But since this whole thing started, when we saw Thanos and we saw this sort of building up, that's sort of been the given, is that, because the actors themselves are getting older. Like you said, it's been 10 years since they really got started. So, I mean, a couple of things, like how do they die? So if they're going to fix the universe, that means somebody's got to put on the gauntlet and snap their fingers again. Or put on the gauntlet and turn back time and stop him before he snaps his fingers, which I think is about how this is going to work. Because, rebooting the universe after this 5-year or 2-year, 3-year, ever how long it's been since he snapped his fingers, and they finally get everybody back together and they go after him. That's a lot of repercussions that, you really have to think about. But if they snap their fingers and only the people in the vicinity remember, or only the Avengers remember, I think therein lies the way they win. They go back and we see that same sort of battle scenario, because that's a major change to the world that every movie would have to deal with. And I don't think they want to rewrite their core universe to that extent. And when you have a gem that allows you to control time, that's like the go-to. It's like, go back and stop him before he does it.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, I mean, I know how they did it in the comics. Basically, the comics don't deal with things the same way they would in movies because there's a certain suspense of belief in comics. So something bad happens in New York City, and Spider-Man's swinging around taking pictures of himself fighting criminals, and the Avengers are fighting Ultron in downtown. Why doesn't he always just show up?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you kind of have to separate things. So I think that we'll have to see how that plays out. Because my thought is everybody that died went to the Soul Gem.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're gonna be fighting him on two fronts. And so, because all those characters that died, we've already seen the previews for Spider-Man 2,
mm-hmm.
so we know he's coming back.
Yeah, and then they've already announced Black Panther 2 and Doctor Strange 2.
Right, so there's something's gonna happen.
And Guardians 3, so.
So, I mean, it could be a reboot to the whole universe. I mean, an opportunity to reset a lot of things, like
mm-hmm.
send Cap back in time so he gets to spend his life with Agent Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Fix Tony so that he can retire and spend the rest of his life with Pepper Potts. Free Bruce Banner of the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Having the gauntlet allows you to do so many things. But that would restructure their whole universe, which might be what we see happen.
And I feel like that's what they're gonna do. The way the repercussions will affect the universe, I think is gonna allow them to insert all the new characters coming in. This is the perfect way for everything to be put back into the universe. Now that they've acquired X-Men and Fantastic Four, not saying they're gonna be in this movie, but when they reverse the Gauntlet's effects, it can allow them to be inserted in the universe saying, oh yeah, they've always been here, just the Gauntlet makes it so they've been there, we just didn't know.
I mean, that's possible. We'll have to see how that works out. I mean, the reason why, one of the big reasons I say this is because when we watch like the previews for Spider-Man Homecoming, nobody's talking about it. If half the world's population died today and was gone for 5 years and then we're back, that would be a conversation that we would have every day from here on out.
Yeah.
It'd be like, I'm so glad you're back. But they don't talk about it. So I think the time thing.
But who knows, maybe Far From Home does talk about it. Just they haven't shown it in the trailers for, end game reasons. They may mention it, but it depends. Like saying maybe they don't remember only the specific Avengers that survived the snap.
Maybe they even don't to some degree, because you think about how traumatized would Spider-Man be. I mean, but that might be the reason for the second one, Spider-Man 2, because he's like, I don't want to be Spider-Man right now. I want to go hang out with my friends, because So I mean, we'll have to see how that plays out, because that's they have the flexibility to do so much, but the problem is the fear of jumping the shark. I mean, when you deal with time travel, that usually screws a series all up. I mean, you think about like most of the greatest sci-fi series are good until they start having to do time travel episodes, and then I mean, it destroyed the Next Generation Star Trek when they did that last episode, and it was all time travel, and they were interacting with each other in their different time zones. So I'm worried about that, but I think that Marvel's done such a good job in tying all these strings together and bringing it into a line that they'll do it right. Now, I don't think Captain's going to die. I think he's going to get sent back in time. I think we're going to lose, because the one thing I haven't heard is another Hulk movie. And so the Hulk seemed to have a lot of issues with Thanos. So somebody really powerful has to be the one to wield the gauntlet. They've already said that. So it's either going to be Thor, Captain Marvel, or maybe the Hulk. And so if the Hulk gets the gauntlet on and makes all of these changes, because he opens up his mind to Bruce Banner's mind, and suddenly the Hulk's body can withstand the tremendous amount of damage that the gauntlet does, because at the end we saw it all busted up and burned up,
Yeah.
and he was walking away from it. So he can take the abuse long enough for it to happen. Or, I mean, Star-Lord.
Possibly because he still has a little bit of Celestial in him. So.
Yeah. So that's a possibility. But he barely held on to one, and that was with friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Hulk has the body to withstand it. Tony might be able to do it with his nano and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Hulk. And I don't think he's going to die, but I think when he does it, he's going to stop being the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to basically relieve himself of the Hulk part of him.
Or do you think that maybe Hulk and Banner will separate? So then it would just be Hulk and then Banner, and then Hulk does his own thing.
That would be bad. Or well, if you go by comic book history, that would be bad.
Yeah, I know it ends up in comics. Without Banner, he's just a raging beast.
Right, because Banner is, the reason Banner is, the Hulk is who he is because he shares a subconscious with the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why the Hulk will throw tanks around and helicopters around, and yet nobody's ever died, is because he has Banner's morals, and he tries very hard not to injure people, mostly just breaks equipment. And when they've taken, they did that. They actually separated Banner and had him in one tank and the Hulk in the other. And the Hulk had no control. And it took Thor, Hercules, Wonder Man, Doc Samson, and the Vision to take him on. And it was a great book. The art in it was amazing. It's John Byrne. And just one long fight of him just stomping them, because it's kind of like I saw a cartoon once where they talked about Superman. It was like, how powerful these characters really are, and the only restraint is what they put on themselves.
Yeah.
And so
that's what pretty much the argument is with Superman versus Batman. Superman can kill Batman if he wanted to. The thing is, the Superman character always is showing restraint. He won't go full power trying to save his city. He won't. If Doomsday is there, he will always show a little bit of restraint, because he could probably defeat Doomsday. I'm not sure in all cases, but his full power ability, he is extremely powerful. But Superman always shows restraint because that's who he is inside. He doesn't want to really hurt anybody.
Yeah, whereas Batman, depending on the story arc, I mean, it's like, well, Batman doesn't kill. Well, if you watch Batman versus Superman, he shot a lot of people. But like Superman, he can heat vision you from orbit. He can see you walk into your car, psst, you're dead.
Exactly.
And, bug zapper. And the Hulk is kind of the same way. The reason why fights last so long with the Hulk, it's like the Hulk gets madder and madder, he gets stronger and stronger. But that's an escalation thing. So even with Superman, you talk about these fights, like most fights with Superman, he seems to kind of struggle in the very beginning, and it builds up, and eventually, but what he's doing is he's using more and more force. So, I know how hard I can hit you before I'm really, when you start reacting. And the same is true with Hulk. These guys, they were all like, I'm the same strength as the Hulk. Yeah, you're the same strength as Hulk 3 minutes into the fight. 6 minutes into the fight, the Hulk's twice as strong as you are. Mad Hulk does start with restraint, so he was at the max from the word go. And he was throwing them around like rag dolls. So if we separate, that would be a fun series of movies of him just destroying the whole Marvel universe from one end to the other. But I'm going to vote the Hulk. I think he's going to put the gauntlet on. I think him and Banner, for whatever reason, he's going to go boom. And we're going to see an end to the Hulk character. And he's going to put people where he thinks they should be, or because I think he's going to fix Asgard, put Odin back in power. I mean, because the Gauntlet can do so much more than just bring back everybody.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think I like your take on Captain America, how he may go back and spend his life with Peggy, how it was kind of meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that he's going to make the ultimate sacrifice. Not wield the gauntlet, because of course I don't think he's powerful enough to wield it. But I feel,
If he does, it would kill him.
yeah,
That would be
which would be the ultimate sacrifice. But I feel he's going to be the one to go. Possibly Iron Man, but I feel he's just going to end going with Pepper Potts and stop being Iron Man.
Yeah, but it's gonna. I would have to say it's gonna be one of those three because if we lost, I mean, they've already talked about a Black Widow movie.
But they're saying the Black Widow one is going to be a prequel also.
Yeah, so that would resolve that.
I think everyone's fair game except Thor, but also I wouldn't
Spider-Man.
put it in Spider-Man, but of the main six, I think everyone's fair game except Thor. But knowing the Russo brothers and they're saying no one's gonna expect what's gonna happen in this movie, I'm not counting out Thor either. But I feel he's the most unlikely to go.
I would say of the six, yeah, he would be the most unlikely.
Because his character's a whole new variation after Thor Ragnarok. He used to be serious. Well, not in the first one. The first one, he was stubborn, cocky.
He was naive but he knew he was a god. So it was kind of like, yeah.
But then in Thor 3, he's a completely different character than he was in the first one.
Are you talking about the buddy cop movie with his brother?
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. I mean, it was a fun movie, and I liked it, but it was a buddy cop movie. And so it was like, you remember when he throw you in the room? Oh, like, seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think you're right. I think it's going to be one of those three. I mean, if we lost Black Widow, Hawkeye, who am I missing?
It's Black Widow, Hawkeye, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, and Hulk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're not going to lose Thor. So if we lost Black Widow or Hawkeye, we might lose Hawkeye because if he loses his family,
he pretty much has nothing to live for, you could say.
And you know, I could see him doing something sacrificial, you know, kind of thing. But we gotta see how that plays out. Everybody else, War Machine is an option.
Nebula, I would say also.
Nebula's probably a pretty good chance she's gonna die.
Maybe one of the Guardians. I'm not sure, but maybe one of the ones. I mean, most of them are snapped, but I think one of them, excluding Nebula, will probably have a chance to go.
Maybe Drax, because he's not a really deep kind of character. He's funny, but you know, he's not a deep character. He can't carry an arch by himself or something like that. I don't see Rocket Raccoon or Groot. I see both of those staying on. But I'm expecting Gamora to come back. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I haven't looked to see if she's even in the movie.
What about Loki? Do you think Loki may come back?
I think Loki will come back if whoever gets the gauntlet and fixes everything
Brings him back?
brings back Asgard. Basically, that's what I'm saying. If they do it, they're going to take it back in time to a point before Thanos has the gems, so that none of that happened. And it might mean that almost all of them die in this timeline. So let's say I take this group of superheroes, we're all beaten, torn up. We go back to before Thanos has gotten the first stone, or just after he gets the first stone. We go back in time and fight him there, and he kills almost all of us. But the rest of us are unaware of the current timeline of us doesn't know, and they break the timeline. They start a whole new time thread, so that, you know, that final sacrifice, you know, they defeat Thanos, and the universe goes on like it never happened because it didn't. And they could kill every one of them as long as in the end they take out Thanos.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how they decide to fix it, because I know I'm gonna be very surprised when whatever I see.
Well, there's tons of options. That's the thing with something like that, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yep.
Well, that's our time. Thank you for coming. If you think we're wrong, tell us in the bottom.
Yep.
Comment.
Make sure to like the video.
Yeah,
and
like
share
the
with
video.
your friends.
Yeah, because I'm this pretty all the time. Keep that in mind. And enjoy the movie.
Yep, thanks for watching.